She has to just find a way to get herself out of this restaurant. Like, dinner is literally over. The cycle of life is cycling. Hashtag lionking. But she is like right here. She's on the periphery, isolated in a really weird purgatory island. And it's like a restaurant too. I wonder if they have milkshakes. I'm very like metaphorically shook. If you were trying to guess the emoji clues for this week's videos, here's the one that pertained to this video. Make sure to follow me on my Instagram where I'll be posting more clues like this in the future. I hope you weren't tricked, and I hope this video is a treat. Hi everyone, welcome to this video. On my channel, I analyze song lyrics very in depth through the lens of literary analysis. In this video, we are doing the song Right Where You Left Me by Taylor Swift. This is a bonus track on her Evermore album. This is the week of Halloween. I'm gonna be uploading a few extra videos that aren't like scary, but they are metaphorically a little bit spooky. I will make sure to link my Evermore, my folklore, and all of my Taylor Swift analyses playlists down below for you. As a quick disclaimer, music is very subjective. Everyone's gonna have their own take on it, so everything presented in this video is my own personal opinion. I always encourage you all to tell me your perspective down below. This song title is pretty straightforward. I say this often on my channel. Whenever I see something that is not that figurative and it's very bold and straightforward, I am very shook because this is not showing us a lack of emotion. This is showing us the presence of a lot of emotion previously. These are the sorts of direct statements you make after you've been through a lot of pain and you've had to sit and exist and wrestle with the pain and you sober up emotionally. You're able to make direct statements like this. So don't be fooled by the directness of this title and the directness of every lyric in this song. This protagonist is in a lot of pain. Protagonist means the main character. Let's get started. I want to point out the very beginning of this song before Taylor starts singing. She kind of sighs a little bit. There's an intake of breath, and it reminds me of taking a deep breath before you want to talk about something stressful or something that makes you anxious. I would not overlook this because think about the song Ready For It from Reputation. She starts that entire album by clearing her throat. I think this is intentional. Let me know if you agree or not down below. I picked this song for Spooky Season Week because this is actually very terrifying. This is about someone who is frozen in their life. They're not able to move forward in any facet of their life. They're emotionally stuck, they're mentally stuck, they're spiritually stuck, they're stuck logistically in their work life, in their friendships, in their love life. This is a 360 sort of being frozen, and it's very, very terrifying. A few of you guys have requested this song or asked about it. I really do view this song and the restaurant, the setting of this song, to be a metaphor for a very specific, depressing void of a purgatory. The protagonist is haunting this purgatory. They're stuck there due to some unresolved trauma. I want to make this point. It's going to explain a little bit more why I find this song to be very, very terrifying. The diction used here really shows how incredibly detached the protagonist is from the natural flow of life. We can see this in the way she's distilled down life events. She talks about strangers being born and strangers being buried. She goes through the entire cycle of life in just one line. It's not even a full sentence. It just has a comma, you guys. Friends break up, friends get married. These are very long cyclical processes that involve a lot of emotions, a lot of thought, a lot of eating ice cream alone on a Friday night while you're watching Gilmore Girls. Hashtag Team Jess. But all of those are being distilled down into diction that is not emotive at all. There are no emotions in these words, and I believe that's completely intentional. It mirrors exactly how the protagonist is feeling. Everything is stated in a very matter-of-fact, bare-bones way because she is so far removed from the flow of life. It sounds like she is a non-human scientist observing humans, and like these lyrics are her field notes. This is why this song is frightening, because this is so real. The internal state of the protagonist in this song is due to a breakup, but
this can happen to anyone because of anything. They don't have to get broken up with. Just one random life event can trigger this in anyone. The diction here really has like a sterile connotation, and it's jarring at times because these are the things that some people may think but never actually speak out loud. Do you know what I mean? This song really is pulling back the veil a little bit about very difficult thought processes that people have when they have become emotionally numb and detached from reality. I'm hashtag shook. Are you?
With that being said, let's get started. Friends break up, friends get married, strangers get born, strangers get buried, trends change, rumors fly through new skies, but I'm right where you left me. Matches burn after the other, pages churn and stick to each other, wages earned and lessons learned, but I'm right where you left me. I'm gonna say this at the beginning, the lyricism in this song is stunning. It always is, but the way that Taylor describes feeling stuck and lonely, the examples she uses, and the specific life events that she refers to just really indicate to me that she's a person that understands the depths of situations. She's very like emotionally intelligent, and I really respect that. So the first two lyrics of this song talk about things that happen in life events. The protagonist is really aware of the movement of time. How do we really categorize time? Time is a social construct, as they say. We define time for ourselves, like in our personal lives, by events that happen. Birthdays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, etc. By school dances, by hanging out with friends, by this exam, that quarterly review at work, right? We have things in our personal lives that allow us to notice the passage of time. However, when someone like this protagonist is stuck within every facet of their life, time doesn't really exist for them. And that's terrifying because time is a non-renewable resource. They are not in a place, as we'll see, to even feel time moving for themselves. They're frozen, and this non-renewable resource full of opportunities is going to pass her by. She does have the awareness that her friends are moving on, her friends are making new friends, they're losing friends, they're getting married. Marriage is the start of a new phase of life. Perhaps they're going to create their own families, they're going to have lots of fun events, their time is going to be more busy, they're creating a life for themselves. Strangers get born and strangers get buried. This line to me is pretty sad because not only is the protagonist aware of what her friends are doing, of the life steps that they're taking, but also of strangers in general. The cycle of life is existing. There is movement around her. The cycle of life is cycling, right? Hashtag lionking. She knows this. She's aware of this. But she is like right here, not in the cycle of life right now. This doesn't mean that she is gonna live forever. She is a regular person, but she is feeling like she's not able to participate in the cycle of life. She's on the periphery, isolated in a really weird purgatory island. And it's like a restaurant too. I wonder if they have milkshakes. Trends change, rumors fly through new skies. Trends change, again, the passage of time.
We can think of trends as markers of time. We have some faster moving trends. For example, the trends that you see cycle through fast fashion. But we also have trends that are like the ID card of an era. For example, baggy jeans and flannel, the 90s, a juicy velour tracksuit. You're in the early 2000s, my friend. I keep thinking about the protagonist and how she's barely existing in society. She's metaphorically on the periphery in that restaurant. I feel like she's been in this mental and emotional restaurant for so long that she's missing some of these era-defining trends. When she snaps out of this purgatory state, which I hope she does, it's like she's not going to remember anything that happened. She's not going to remember that these trends changed and the 90s are back. I would assume that when you feel like you're frozen, each second is going to feel like an eternity because you're not living life, you are enduring life. When you endure something, you're suffering. I feel like if and when, I hope it's when, she emerges back into society, when she finally realizes she can just get up and open the door and leave that restaurant, she may metaphorically feel like a traveler from another time. Listen, it's really important to visualize this because this whole restaurant is, of course, metaphorical. She is still going through the motions of life. If you see her, you wouldn't know that her internal state is in purgatory. You wouldn't know that internally she was stuck at that restaurant. Her hair is still pinned up and she's still sitting in that corner booth. You would see her like a normal person. I just feel like she's in a state where she can't really comprehend or process or even react to anything that's going on in the outside world. I'm gonna say this only because it's spooky season week. This is giving me like mild #zombie vibes. She's like an emotional zombie walking among the living, and that's frightening.
Rumors fly through new skies. I love the way she says that. So, gossip is still happening.
The lyric rumors fly through new skies is really, really interesting. I think of rumors as kind of like paper airplanes flying all throughout the social stratosphere. The protagonist is saying that, important things are happening. People are getting married. Later, she's going to say people are going to work, getting their wages. But also, gossip is still a thing that's happening, right? However, the gossip has probably changed. When she reemerges into society, she's not going to know who they're talking about anymore. That love triangle has probably turned into a love pentagon for all she knows. Or a love decagon, which is literally what happened in Gossip Girl and why I stopped watching it. Like, there was so many things happening, I couldn't. Although I loved Blair's headbands, so.
But I'm right where you left me. So it sounds like she's stuck in this purgatory due to the actions of another person. We'll find out in a few verses what happened and why she's at a restaurant specifically, but this sounds like someone who had something happen to them and for some reason or another, they're not able to move forward from it. They're frozen at that time, at that age, at that mindset, at that belief system that they had when all of this happened. Matches burn right after the other. And when you have like matches lined up next to each other and you light one, the whole row of matches is gonna catch on fire. When that happens, you can't really stop it that easily. That image to me is showing the progression of something, the progression of time, maybe, of life, etc. Matches burn pretty quickly, fire moves pretty quickly, fire can be pretty destructive. So that image to me connotes a feeling of worry and urgency on part of the protagonist. Perhaps she feels like time is moving fast, burning through the matches, time is going away, slipping through her fingers, but she is stuck. Pages churn and stick to each other. For me, I'm thinking about the page being like the book of someone's life, and the pages are turning because you're filling them up with your life events and your new thoughts and your new beliefs, but she says that some of them stick to each other. Okay, this is one of my favorite lyrics in this song because it's literally so haunting. Other people's pages are turning properly, but her pages are getting stuck to each other, which means that she can't view or access the pages that are stuck. I have a prop, you guys, and it's not my cute teacup this time. A floral print notebook. I just want to show you, if you stick pages together, pretend that these, also look at the inside cover. Is this not the cutest thing you've ever seen? I love stationery. I'm like literally obsessed with stationery. Anyways, if all of this is stuck for our protagonist, these are moments and days of her life that she does not have access to. They're passing her by and she does not have the option to grab a pen, washi tape, or cute stickers to try to write down the story of her life. Is that not wild? BRB. So I do think that she feels like she is missing out on life. She has no way to unglue those pages. She doesn't have any other notebook or book. It is what it is with her right now. That's a very heartbreaking image to me. I'm very like metaphorically shook. It's so smart that she said that. Lyrically, it's so eloquent. It's such a like concise phrase, but the depths of emotions it's expressing, it's like gut-wrenching. It's heartbreaking. #spooky season, right?
When she says wages earned and lessons learned, often people view their career or their job as very important. You need an income to be able to survive. However, all of the effort and the hours and the thought that goes into someone's job is being distilled down to just the word wages. And the rich and full experience of life is being distilled down to the word lessons. Again, she's viewing the passage of time in a very sterile, non-emotional way. This sort of diction is reflective of her current internal state. An alternate way to view this would be like the protagonist just has a lot of awareness about her situation. She is stuck in that restaurant, but she still has awareness of the things she's missing out on.
she's missing out on progressing in her career, maybe moving up to a better position, getting those wages up, and also learning lessons. She recognizes that her peers are having experiences and learning things and knowing themselves better. When she gets back out into the world after she leaves the restaurant, she may feel like she's still 23, when in reality, maybe a few years have passed. It's like a sort of arrested development. She may feel like she's behind in life when comparing herself to her peers and her friends because she had to take that time out and be in that restaurant. So these lyrics could be her kind of lamenting over that fact. This second interpretation is the one that I'm more partial towards. Let me know what you think down below. But I'm right where you left me. There are a lot of instances where she kind of stutters a little bit or just repeats the word I. It's like she's stuttering over the words. I think it's because she has an awareness of the state she's in, right? She probably feels some shame and some guilt because she's not able to get unstuck right now. Verse 2. Help, I'm still at the restaurant. Still sitting in a corner I haunt. Cross-legged in the dim light, they say, what a sad sight. I swear you could hear a hairpin drop right when I felt the moment stop. Glass shattered on the white cloth. Everybody moved on. I stayed there. Dust collected on my pinned up hair. That's also gut-wrenching. They expected me to find somewhere, some perspective, but I sat and stared. The word help messes with me so much in this song. It messes with me a lot because it's one thing to be ignorant of a situation you're in. Hashtag ignorance is bliss, I guess. It's not always bliss, but I guess it can be bliss sometimes. That's another discussion. But when you are aware of a situation you're in and you are very well versed with your situation, like the protagonist seems to be, but you're not able to get out of it, it is more agonizing. It is more painful. Right? It's like being stuck in a box versus a glass box. When you're in a box, that's terrifying, but you also like don't know what's going on outside, right? So you don't know what you're missing. But when you're in a glass box, you're able to see people pass you by and not help you. You're able to see people live their life. In the other box, you could be isolated and you can just think to yourself, oh, no one's around, that's why no one's helping me. But in a glass box, you're gonna see people walk by that don't wanna help you. Awareness can be helpful, it's important. It really is, but I just want to illustrate the fact and drive the point home that having an awareness in a situation where you can't do anything about it can really mess with you on a very deep and internal level. I would argue to the level of your soul. Yes. Help, I'm still at the restaurant, still sitting in a corner I haunt. So usually when there's like a spirit haunting a place, it's because they weren't able to pass over to like the other side, right? She's viewing herself as someone that's not able to move on or pass over to the new phase of life after this breakup. This song is about a breakup. So she's viewing herself as like a sort of metaphorical ghost, and she's haunting the corner of that restaurant where she was broken up with. Cross-legged in the dim light, they say what a sad sight. When you're sitting cross-legged, it's like crisscross applesauce. So she's making herself physically smaller. Her legs are not dangling down. And when you make yourself physically smaller, that is often indicative of feeling more vulnerable, feeling scared. Suggests to me that she's emotionally not super chill right now, which is literally the most understandable thing ever for her. There's also light imagery, but it's dim light. So there's a little bit of darkness. That to me is a little bit concerning because light usually symbolizes understanding, clarity, truths, new beginnings, that sort of thing, but the light here is dim. So she's very limited in those sorts of energies, right? If you want to hear me talk more about light imagery specifically, I would suggest you watch my analysis of the song Daylight by Taylor Swift, which will be linked down below.
I want to say that the dim lighting here could not be figurative at all. A lot of restaurants have dim lighting, so it could not be that deep, but I just wanted to point out the possibility of light imagery being significant here, in case that interpretation resonates with you more.
They say what a sad sight. So she's aware that other people know that she's stuck, and she's aware that they talk about her. That's even worse. So not only does she have awareness of the situation she's in personally that she can't get out of right now, she's also aware that other people know and they talk behind her back. So there is a lot going on emotionally for the protagonist. She has this inner turmoil. She's still dealing with the event that happened to her with a breakup, but she's also dealing with people on the outside noticing she's like this. I wonder if the people who are talking about her ever tried to help her. I don't know. It's interesting to think about. Unfortunately though, I think this is a situation where you have to get yourself out of it. I know, it sucks. It sucks. It really, really does. But there are certain things in life where even if someone wants to help you, there's only so much they can do. I hope she has a support system because I think that could be very, very beneficial.
It's possible too that literally no one is talking about her and she's just thinking about this herself. Oftentimes, when we are insecure about something or just thinking a lot about our own struggles, we think that it's really apparent to others and everyone can see right through you, but that's usually not the case. So, while it is possible that people do notice and are talking behind her back, it's also possible that people aren't noticing. Remember earlier I said that if you just look at the protagonist as an outsider, you may not realize that internally she's struggling. So this could very much be her own self-talk, and it could be reflective of how deeply she's ruminating on everything. I think both interpretations work. I would be interested to hear your perspective down below.
I swear you could hear a hairpin drop. So the saying is, I could hear a pin drop, which means that it's so silent that this tiny thin pin, like a needle, can make a big sound. She is using hairpin here in my opinion because she talks about pinned up hair. So it's like her hair is falling out. Probably had a very cute updo. I wonder if this was like 50s inspired or something. She talks about being 23, which is close to 22, which is the red era. So I don't know if this actually happened to her during that time. I'm not saying she had a 50s style then, but I feel like if she were to do a 50s style updo, she might do it then. I don't really know. But yeah, I think her hair, which was probably done perfectly, the pins are starting to fall out, which is very sad and a very depressing image. It's very heavy. If you visualize this, it's literally so sad and it's so haunting because she's probably done up because she was gonna be on a date with her significant other, but instead of having a cute date, she got broken up with and he left and lived his life and she couldn't. She's still in that cute outfit with that cute hair, but she's becoming like a stone statue version of herself. We're gonna see that there's dust collecting on it. It really is very terrifying and it really is very sad and it's very poignant in the most depressing way. I think Taylor illustrates this very beautifully, and as always, there's so much value in visualizing what Taylor is saying. Right? Just like the word landing in the song Champagne Problems, when I talked about that, I was able to craft like a mini movie. I'll make sure to link that analysis down below for you. Right when I felt the moment stop, glass shattered on the white cloth, everybody moved on. I'm assuming this is referring to the moment that she was broken up with. Once she heard that, you know, her significant other was leaving her, the silence was deafening, right? She could hear a pin drop, which suggests a very high emotional response. She was in shock. Glass shattered on the white cloth. Okay, this image is also pretty heartbreaking. When glass shatters on something white, it's very difficult to find all the pieces because they blend in very well to the white cloth. I think she's referring to the white cloth of the table since she's at a restaurant. Maybe it's like a fancier restaurant. For some reason, I just keep visualizing a diner. That's why I said milkshakes earlier. You were probably like, girl, why are you talking about milkshakes? In my mind, I don't know why I visualize a diner. I always have since I heard this song. I have no idea why. Let me know what kind of restaurant you guys visualized. Some diners are 24 hours and they're retro and her hair is pinned up. I think that's maybe why I gravitated towards visualizing a diner. But diners could have white cloth napkins, so maybe it just fell on the napkin. I don't know. IDK. The point, when glass shatters on a white cloth, you cannot see all of the glass, so there is a greater chance that you will cut yourself on the glass. There is a greater chance for pain, but very little for you to do to avoid the pain, just due to the circumstances. You have no power in it, right? That's how the protagonist feels. She is in a situation right now, she's frozen, where it's going to negatively affect her in a lot of different ways. She knows the metaphorical glass is broken, she knows her situation, but there's like very little she can do because it is what it is right now, right? She has to just find a way to get herself out of this restaurant. Like, dinner is literally over. She needs to get out. Everybody moved on. I stayed there. It's like she was glued to her seat. She wasn't able to get up and leave and move on with her life. Dust collected on my pinned up hair. That's frightening. That's haunting. Like I said earlier, she was probably done up and looked super cute, and she's becoming a statue. It's just terrifying. They expected me to find somewhere, some perspective, but I sat and stared. I think she's just referring to maybe her friends and family. They expected her to get up, find a place to go, to move on, metaphorically in an emotional place, or literally as a distraction, find a new perspective, maybe some hope in life to move on from this relationship, but she was not able to do that. The only thing she was able to do was just to sit where she was, the exact place where she was, where she got broken up with, and just to stare. That's all she had the capability of doing. Yeah. Chorus. Right where you left me. You left me no. You left me no choice but to stay here forever. You left me no. Oh, you left me no. You left me no choice but to stay here forever. This is a continuation of the last line of the previous verse. She sat and stared right where he left her. This sounds like it's a sort of response to a version of emotional trauma. I'm not a psychologist or anything, just from like a metaphorical standpoint, that's what it seems like. Maybe I shouldn't call it trauma. It's like an emotional and psychological, maybe even like spiritual response to a situation where you're not able to process it, so your body freezes up. It's like when you have physical symptoms due to like a mental or emotional situation, your body can have physical symptoms as a result of those things. So it's like a physical manifestation of an intangible feeling. We have repetition of you left me. That's repeated multiple times in the chorus and all throughout this song. I always say that repetition signifies significance. I really believe that when certain words or phrases are repeated in a song, it's the songwriter trying to tell us something, give us a message, especially when the songwriters are intentional, like I assume Taylor is. I love the play on the word no, like you left me, no. It's like she's saying the word no to herself because she doesn't want to believe it. She doesn't want to think it. So I view the word no in this context as her saying no to herself. Like she is still in disbelief. She doesn't want to accept it. She can't accept it. And then that no turns into no choice. She has no choice because he left her. I feel really badly for the protagonist. I think a lot of people may say, you know what, suck it up, breakups happen. She actually says that later in the song, breakups happen every day. And that's true, but we don't know the context of the protagonist's life. We don't know the type of life she's had, the other things she's dealt with. And maybe it's not even about the breakup. Perhaps it's more due to the emotional state the protagonist was in. And maybe if anything like this happened, maybe if it was a friend or any sort of situation that would cause this sort of emotional response, maybe she would be in this purgatory, right? This is just a possibility. I'm saying this just due to the fact that her response to this situation was very grand. She was very, very hurt by this, and I think that's just reflective of how she felt, of her emotional state before this even happened. If you're walking on like a boardwalk that extends out into the beach, if you're walking on one of those and it's already been hit by like a few hurricanes and tropical storms, there is a great chance that even the smallest step will cause it to fall. It's really heartbreaking how she says, stay here forever. She really sees no escape from this situation. She feels like the rest of her life is gonna be like this. Verse 3. Did you ever hear about the girl who got frozen? Time went on for everybody else. She won't know it. She's still 23, inside her fantasy, how it was supposed to be. Did you hear about the girl who lives in delusion? Breakups happen every day. You don't have to lose it. She's still 23, inside her fantasy, and you're sitting in front of me. Did you ever hear about the girl who got frozen? You can think about this as someone else saying this as if she's like a big topic of conversation. I don't view it in that way. You can, but I just view it as what she is thinking other people say about her. This connotes a feeling of shame. She's ashamed of the situation that she's in. I would argue she feels embarrassed, not just of being broken up with, like that doesn't even matter. I think she's embarrassed by her response to the breakup. Perhaps she feels weak, perhaps she just feels sorry for herself. It's just all very sad. Time went on for everybody else, she won't know it. So she's really stuck in her own world, and time, I think she recognizes that people are living their lives, friends are getting married, people are doing things, but she can't feel time moving forward for herself. Perhaps when you live on the periphery in a metaphorical purgatory restaurant for a long time, you may think that you are excluded from the constraints of time that everyone else in the circle of life is constrained to, but you're not. Right? Just because you are frozen emotionally or spiritually or something, the same rules and laws of the universe and of life still apply to you. It's just like that quote where it says something along the lines of, some people think that by not playing the game they won, but they're actually losing by default. I'm sure the quote was much more eloquent than that, but that's kind of the same vibe here. I'm not saying the protagonist is doing this intentionally. I think this is just an involuntary emotional response that she's had. A lot of times when you're not participating in something like this, you think the rules don't apply to you, but some things like time just simply apply to everyone. And I think that's what's meant by the lyric, she won't know it. She's still 23 inside her fantasy. She's arrested at the age where she had that quote trauma. She's in the fantasy of what it was supposed to be. So she's daydreaming, living as if she's still with that person, daydreaming that they'll come back maybe. Did you hear about the girl who lives in delusion? I'm gonna look up the word delusion. It means a belief or altered reality that is persistently held, this is important, despite evidence or agreement to the contrary. It says it's usually part of a mental disorder. I'm not going to be diagnosing any protagonists in my videos. It's just believing something that's not true, and it's believing that especially when there is like a rational argument against it or there's proof that it's contradicted. That's the difference between delusion and fantasy, because fantasy, you make it up yourself, it's made up. Delusions of grandeur, that's what it reminds me of. So she is very much in a state of existence that is far removed from reality, right? There is no like reasoning with her. I think that's what this is meant to say. She's in deep. This triggered something in her. That's how I'm interpreting it. She's still 23 inside her fantasy. We have repetition of that lyric. She's 23, so she's really young. So it's really sad that she is experiencing this feeling of being frozen in life. Nothing is moving forward in her life. Job, friendships, love life, interests, hobbies, new belief systems, I don't know, new favorite songs, new favorite restaurants, new favorite shades of lip gloss. None of that is happening right now, and it's time she won't get back, right? And you're sitting in front of me. This lyric goes with the first lyric of the bridge, so let's go to the bridge. Bridge. I noticed that in some of my lyric analysis, I do this, bridge, and I didn't notice it's because it actually looks like a bridge. So I might be good at charades. I'm gonna read the last lyric of the previous verse. And you're sitting in front of me, bridge, at the restaurant, when I was still the one you want. Cross-legged in the dim light, everything was just right. I could feel the mascara run. You told me that you met someone. Glass shattered on the white cloth. Everybody moved on. So verse 3 was what other people were saying about her. And the last lyric of verse 3 led us into the bridge, and it's what the protagonist is remembering. In her mind, it's like her ex is still sitting in front of her breaking up with her. It's like on repeat. Very much like the repetition of the lyrics in this song. That scenario was repeated over and over again in her mind. I would argue that she's ruminating on it a lot, and involuntarily, because I'm sure it's not a pleasant experience. She got broken up with at the restaurant. That's why her purgatory is a restaurant. The last time she was there, right before she was broken up with, she was still the one that her ex wanted. She was cross-legged in the dim light, but this was a positive thing. I'm not going to interpret being cross-legged here as her, making herself look smaller or anything. I think she just happened to be sitting that specific way, and she is still sitting that way many, I don't know, insert measurement of time here, later, many days, years, months later. So her legs are probably asleep while she's in that purgatory diner restaurant. When she says everything was just right, I think she's referring to in the second before the breakup, everything was right, like everything looked normal. They were out to dinner like they always are, like the vibes were chill. Or you can think about this as her trying to validate the relationship to herself. Like, how did this happen? Everything was right. Do you know what I mean? This is showing her disbelief because it says that I could feel the mascara run. You told me that you met someone. So again, she's being broken up with. She remembers her mascara running on her face. She was not wearing waterproof mascara because she was not anticipating to cry today. This was a surprise. She was probably thinking everything felt right a nanosecond before this. She was blindsided by this. Sometimes you can tell if a breakup is gonna happen, but I don't think she had any idea. She was in a very deep state of shock. She is haunting the scene of the crime, right? This crime didn't kill her, but it froze her. She is in a metaphorical ice block in that diner or restaurant. Glass shattered on the white cloth. I discussed that lyric earlier. The fact that it's repeated reinforces the amount of hurt that she is feeling, and that hurt is not going to have an easy cleanup, and it's dangerous because it's pointy glass. Also, the word shattered is important. I forgot to mention this earlier, but I often talk in my videos about the difference between something shattering and something breaking. When something breaks, it is usually in a few number of pieces, like in 2 or 3 pieces. And I've said this as well, you can get metaphorical super glue and glue it back together and no one will know. Like, you're fine, okay? Just put it back at a weird angle, put like a flower vase in front of it or something, like you're fine, right? You're metaphorically okay. But if something shatters, it's into very many pieces. Different shapes, different sizes, shatters everywhere. It can hurt other people because they may not know there's something shattered and they may walk over it. So when something shatters, it's much more emotionally devastating. The glass shattering could also just be, you know, reflective of her heart shattering. Everybody moved on. So her ex moved on, everyone in the restaurant moved on. That's really important to think about too. That restaurant was doing business as usual, right? Business as normal. The people next to her paid their bill, left, went to live their lives. The workers clocked out, right? New workers clocked in. She's still there in that same outfit with that same hair, still sitting cross-legged, right? It's so haunting to think about. It's so haunting to think about. Verse 4. Help. I'm still at the restaurant, still sitting in a corner I haunt. Cross-legged in the dim light, they say what a sad sight. I stayed there. Dust collected on my pinned up hair. I'm sure that you got a wife out there. Kids and Christmas. But I'm unaware because I'm right where. I cause no harm, mind my business. If our love died young, I can't bear witness. And it's been so long, but if you ever think you got it wrong, and then that's gonna trickle into the last verse, which I'll get to in a second. So this is very similar to verse 2. The first 4 lines are the same as verse 2. However, instead of it saying, I swear I could hear a hairpin drop, it says, I stayed there. This is really important because this is an instance where the protagonist is taking ownership of her part in this. I'm not blaming her in any way because I think that there are a lot of layers to this and there were things going on previously in her emotional landscape before this happened. I think this is just like the last thing that was stacked on top of her that made her topple over. Before this, she kept saying, like, you left me no choice but to stay here. But now she's saying, I stayed here. This is, okay. It's like that feeling when you're so angry at someone who's like wronged you or whatever, and you're like so angry and you're like, it's all your fault, you did this, da 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 da. And you spend too much time being mad at them. You exist in that madness for like a while. And then at one point you realize, yeah, they might have done that, but I chose to stay mad about it. Again, I'm not blaming her because there are instances when you're so not okay that you just literally can't even, but it's good that she has this awareness that she stayed there. There's another saying, another quote where it's like, you've been suffering for this long in shackles, but all the while you're the one with the key. It's also like the movie Penelope. Penelope is such a cute movie. Pretty much, Christina Ricci's character is cursed and she has a pig nose. Don't let the plot fool you. I think this is relevant. Okay, spoiler alert. Pretty much, she is cursed and she has a pig's nose, and to cure it she has to find like true love or find someone to accept her, something like that. She looks for a dude. At the end, a guy did not break her curse. Do you know what did? Her accepting herself and her literally not caring about her pig nose. All the while she had the key to break out of the curse, right? She was with herself the whole time, right? But the thing is, like, you have to build up to that place where you realize that you are actually in more control of your life than you realize. You know, I'm not saying you're 100% in control, because she couldn't control her boyfriend breaking up with her, but you have more control than you give yourself credit for. And it's hard to see sometimes, but once you realize it, once you start to realize that you literally have a full keychain filled with keys to get you out of situations, you have to start using it. It is your responsibility to use those keys and to get a cute keychain, but to use those keys to get out of these emotional lock boxes, these emotional purgatories that you sometimes find yourself in. She could have not been a cute statue with cute hair, and she could have just gotten up and left that restaurant and just, I don't know, gone to a bakery instead or something, right? Go to that bakery and begin again so you can like begin again, right? That music video, by the way, is one of my favorite Taylor Swift music videos because it's so aesthetic and I just feel so calm. Anyways, I digress. Dust collected on my pinned up hair is repeated. The new lyrics are, I'm sure that you got a wife out there, kids, and Christmas, but I'm unaware. So much time has passed that she assumes that he's married by now. And not only is he married, not only did he meet someone, date them, figure out he wants to propose, pick out a ring, propose, be engaged for a second, have a wedding planned, participate in the wedding, get married, be married, have his wife become pregnant, wait 9 months, have a kid, and kids is plural, right? So do that again, have more kids. That's a lot of years. It's a lot of time. You know, 3-4 years minimum. She has been in this purgatory for a minimum of 4 years, right? That could be what it feels like, or this could be literal. It's not unrealistic to feel stuck in your life. You're not gonna be sitting in a restaurant the whole time, but this is an internal state. You could feel stuck internally for many years. So I don't think that's exaggerated at all, honestly, unfortunately. The way she says Christmas really messes with me. She says you have kids and Christmas. The experience of Christmas is like something to have, something to enjoy. It's kind of like a Dashboard Confessional lyric. I'm a really big Dashboard Confessional fan. There's a lyric, I think it was in the song Slow Decay in his Dusk and Summer album. So Slow Decay is a really heavy song. It's about someone coming back from war and the very intense difference between being a soldier in war and losing his friends and then coming here where everything is much more calm and chill. There's a lyric that says, I had to look it up because I wanted to say it correctly. I'm not going to read the few lines before it because it's very sad, but the lyric that I wanted to point out as an example says, but I'm here alive with satellites and Friday nights. The way that song talks about Friday nights and it makes it into an entity is the same way that Taylor is making Christmas like an entity, like a thing here. It's like you have Friday nights here. Friday nights are special. You have Christmas. Christmas is special. I'm giving it a very specific definition, and I really enjoy that a lot. It's very painful, but I think it really gets the point across. I love it. I do. But I'm unaware. So she says that she's not aware, right? Maybe she would be if she was in the outside world. She is just assuming. I honestly think it's good she's not aware of his whereabouts. Like TBH, I think that's for the best. Cause I'm right where, and then she cuts herself off and says, I cause no harm, mind my business. She's like, I'm not doing anything to anyone. I'm just literally suffering in silence. Like literally help, I'm still at the restaurant. That's what's going on. That really connotes like a feeling of innocence. You feel even more bad for her because she's not trying to get revenge. She's not out here like gossiping about him. She is just sitting and hurting in silence and losing opportunities to live her life and to enjoy her life and to help build up her life and create her life, right? If our love died young, I can't bear witness, and it's been so long. She can't bear to witness the fact that their love ended like that early, right? And she's saying it's been so long, but if you ever think you got it wrong, last verse, I'm right where you left me. And then we have repetition of you left me no, you left me no choice but to stay here forever. You left me no. Oh, you left me no. You left me no choice but to stay here forever. So she's still saying, but if you think you got it wrong, you can find me right where you left me. So even though she did have that lyric of awareness where she said, you know, I stayed here, she still is holding out a little bit of hope that he'll come back to her and find her. Maybe that's part of it, right? Maybe she's like, if I stay here, he knows where to find me. I hate that. I hate that more. I hate that more. There is no like happy resolution to this song. I do have a little bit of hope because of the lyric that says I stayed here. So I think that clarity is starting to come for our protagonist. But I do think that this is very eloquently and depressingly illustrating a moment in time, a relatively longer moment in time for our protagonist. Taylor did a really good job of creating this feeling of being stuck and really being on the periphery of life while everyone else moves forward in a natural way. The time that's passing for the protagonist is unnatural, right? It's not normal. So it's very heartbreaking to hear about. I hope that the protagonist is able to break out of this purgatory and go back to the reality of the real world, make new friends, lose friends, whatever, date people, find a new job, whatever. And most importantly, figure out what her new favorite color lip gloss is. That's all I have for this song. Please let me know your thoughts down below. I'd be really interested to hear it. Please make sure you like this video if you enjoy it. It helps me out a lot. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of my videos. Any requests, leave them below. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye!